Any other questions?
Sir.
You said a lot of your money initially was coming through the generosity of Mrs. Doshi and her partner. What percentage of your operating budget comes from private donations?
Have we determined?
No, we don't. Let me go back to something. I think there was a misnomer. The terminology on the chart was state aid. What we actually receive is reimbursement. The way it was explained was correct. It is a following of the money follows the student, but it is not actually state aid. It is cost per pupil that we receive. At this time, Mr. Berry is correct, Dr. Butts is correct, we don't have a final budget. But Dr. Doshi's contribution through the AU Foundation, along with the co-founder, Mr. Berry, has been significant. And it will position us to not only plan the school, which is what we've been doing, but also to enter into the pre-opening phase, which is the period while we await the decision of the Charter Schools Institute. But it will also allow us to get to and into the opening of the first year. And as Dr. Butts mentioned before, we have full expectation that we will be able to attract trustees to our board of directors, and those trustees will have the financial ability to make significant gifts and to reach out to others in their own communities, at work, at church, in social engagements, to ask them to make significant financial contributions. We don't believe that this program will be run solely on state dollars, and we are looking forward to the per pupil cost being reimbursed to us through Jericho, through any other district whose children decide to join us at the charter school.
But the Hicksville gentleman said that the reimbursement for Hicksville would be around $20,000 a year. It sounds like you're envisioning a budget that would be well in excess of $20,000 per student per year.
I would say yes, but we're using the average per pupil cost across at least 22 or more districts, because the history is that when you open a charter school, you don't only draw from the district in which the charter school is located, you draw from a wide range of districts. So we're averaging against 22 districts that range anywhere from a low of 15,000 to a high of about what Jericho is, 23 or 24,000, for maybe an average of 16 or 17,000 per student, because we're looking at a weighted average margin as opposed to just a pure average. So bottom line, no, I don't think that it's probably realistic to think that we will break even solely on the per pupil cost reimbursement from the state.
No, I'm just trying to understand, and I'm sure you guys have given a lot of thought, just the feasibility of your plan. I'm well past.
We think it's feasible.
But I'm trying to figure out, do they get 50% from private donations? 20? I mean, if you're getting...
It really will depend on the final program. And as Dr. Butts said, the reason that we're here tonight is to hear what people are thinking. I'm taking notes furiously, because these notes and your ideas, your comments, your questions will drive what we produce this week to put into the application to make changes, additions, modifications. And so at this point, no, I cannot tell you that 50% of the budget will be raised or developed. All I can tell you is that we do know that Dr. Doshi's gift through the AU Foundation is significant. She has made a commitment. The commitment is clear. It's named after her program. The commitment is clear. She has already started the foundation and incorporated. The commitment is clear that she is making the monies available to ensure that we can put together a high-quality program, something that you all would be proud of if you send your student to it, or just be proud to know that it's here on Long Island. We will be able to answer that at a later time. The application does become public information at a certain point, but tonight I would not be able to put a percentage on what's development dollars versus the amount that comes from per pupil cost reimbursement.
And you said your plan goes in 2 weeks, I thought. Is it not that?
Yeah.
But you don't have a sort of a ballpark number for what that is yet?
Not a percentage on private gifts, no.
And just the last question, sorry. You said that you're looking to build 5 classrooms and 3 labs. How does that provide space for 450 students?
Well, that's as we go in to our building, and we look to expand that space as we go along. I'm sorry, yes.
curriculum as other schools. You've added a research component, which most of our local schools have anyway. It sounds to me that the only thing that's different, you've got 10 extra days in your school year, which it sounds like that's the mini-mester at the end of the year. And you've got maybe an extra half hour or so during the day. But can you describe, it sounds like your day may be organized differently than the typical school day. And you mentioned something about a summer pre-something. Can you explain? Those seem to be the only things that are different from what we do locally anyway. So can you please explain those components?
Sure. A few things that are different. One of the largest differences that I truly believe is that we are an application-based learning school. So it's the delivery of instruction, it's the methodologies that we'll use within the classroom to deliver that same core content. Again, we all are bound by the state and by the Regents exams and by those curricula. So we will certainly be utilizing those. However, our day is structured differently. We do have an opportunity for students to differentiate. So throughout that hour-and-a-half block, we'll allow students to accelerate, to work with college mentors at certain points in their career. Students will also be able to be remediated or simply just take on what their key interests might be. So that period throughout the middle of the day helps us to differentiate. We do have a 2-week mini-mester. That lines up with the college in their first summer session. So students will be able to take summer courses at the college if they like. They're able to stay with us to do some additional training and work on their own independent research. And that's a big piece of what's different for us. Even though we're offering a common core course, a common core curriculum, we are definitely providing students with the opportunity to take on independent field research, which is an area of their choice, and then we support that. So that's very large. Students will be working on independent field research over the course of 4 years, and that application-based learning is what truly makes us different.
And how many minutes is each class?
58.
58.
58 minutes each class, yes.
What about sports and music?
We put up the cores, but yes, obviously electives will be provided. Art, music, yes. Yes, 100%. Phys ed.
Wait, sir.
In 12th grade curriculum, it says for math and science that the curriculum is elective. What do you mean by that?
Well, that's a fabulous question, and electives means that it's not something that we'll decide, it's something that you as a student would elect to take. So the courses will be varying, there'll be a lot of different choices for students, and they can elect or choose whatever science or math class they like to take. That's what it means.
Well, the child shall lead. Dr. Griswold?
I think you should trade your Android in for an iPhone. I appreciate that we spent some time discussing the Doshi school last week, and I just would like to restate, while I commend the efforts to look at expanding STEM, and I see a need for that, I also appreciate the fact that Long Island shows more Intel semifinalists than do 43 or 44 states in the United States. So clearly Long Island has very strong STEM programs in place. My great concern, and I think we've heard some of it expressed this evening, is the funding mechanism behind charter schools. We talk about Jericho School District about $24,000 per student. That is not state aided. That's of the $24,000, I would guess over $23,000 of that will come from local taxpayers. We receive less than 3% of our budget from the state. So the major burden for us and for our colleagues in other school districts on Long Island will fall on the local taxpayers. And what will happen is if 10 youngsters come from Hicksville, that is not going to have an equivalent loss of teaching staff for them to make up that cost. So that's going to be borne by the Hicksville School District, the Jericho School District, or whichever school district. There needs to be a better mechanism in place, especially now that we're all living under the 2% tax levy cap, which really puts an incredible strain on our budgets to continue to improve our STEM programs as well. And again, I can thank you for the opportunity to have some discussions, and I hope that we can continue our discussions in looking at some funding alternatives or some alternative ways to provide this program where the school districts are not financially put in a very difficult situation in these very challenging economic times.
Thank you very much. And I should, you all at Jericho should appreciate the leadership you have here. We are looking, and we will meet again, to look creatively at how we can address some of your concerns. You should know that whether I was born this way or not, I have learned to become a fiscal conservative. And saving money and using it wisely to the best advantage of all of us is something that I believe in deeply. And so, thank you, Dr. Mitchell. Thank you very much. We will continue our discussions. You heard Ms. Jacobs, a part of our team, say she's taking notes seriously, because I want to make sure that we really try to address some of the concerns. And as I said, this is not the last time we will be meeting in a community forum to hear feedback. One learns to be flexible, not malleable, but flexible. One learns to listen and try to find a way that he's gone now, but try to find a way that we can all get along. So I thank you. Let me take one more question. Sir?
We came late. I have a very basic question. Will in 2013, 9 to 12 all classes start? The classes?
Just night.
Oh, because my son is going to 9th this year, so it means he cannot join.
Oh yeah, well our opening date is 2013, so it's not.
Only 9.
Yes. I'll take one more. Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for your attendance.